Hey up guys, so this is a super important lesson if you are an absolute beginner, because what we're going to get into is learning how to measure the notes that we play on the fretboard. Now there's a fancy word for that, and that is intervals, but that's not important for you to learn. What we need to do is learn some basic music language that's going to help you out immensely for the rest of your guitar playing life. Simply defined, an interval is essentially the gap between one event and another event. If you think about it, if you went to the theatre and you watched the first act of the show and then you had some expensive ice cream in that break, then you watched the rest of the show, that gap is called the interval. We're looking at the gap between one note sounding and another note sounding. The fretboard, I kind of look at it as being like a ruler. So if you look at a ruler, you can see that we can divide that ruler up in lots of different ways. We can have centimeters, millimeters, inches, all sorts of different ways of measuring the length of something. And if you think about it, measuring from 1 centimeter to 5 centimeter, that is the interval of length that we would have there. That's the gap between that length. We can do the same thing with notes, and as you can see, the units of measurement get shorter and shorter and get narrower the further up the fretboard we go. These are the widest frets that we get, and these are the narrowest frets that we get. So it isn't consistent like a proper ruler for measuring feet and inches, because if that was the case, then people would be measuring things wrong. There would be a great deal of inaccuracy in engineering. In music, we use alphabet letters from A to G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's all we've got, guys. But we need to be able to describe the distance between some of these letters. So if I was looking at the distance between E and F, then I would have a way of describing that. And that's what we're getting into. So this is all about these first intervals, or these first names or labels, if you will, for the distance between one note and another. If we take the A string, and I play this open A here because it's the musical alphabet, we're starting on A. It's as easy as A, B, C. This is A here. Now what I can do is go up to this note here. And that is going to be a specific distance. And I can go up to this note here. And you can see I'm only going up 1 fret. If I go up to this note here, notice I'm not telling you what the label for that is. I mentioned that we're on the A string, so you knew which string I was playing. But I'm not telling you what these are here, but I can describe it by saying I'm going up 1 fret each time. And that distance, we have a name for it. And I'm going down as well, look. That's called a half step. Or in the UK, we would use the terminology a semitone, okay? Now think about that. I want you to remember that it said half and it said semi, okay? Half and semi, because they're pretty much the same thing. So if we take this here, I'm going up a half step, or I could equally call it a semitone as well. So I'm just going up there, and this is the case wherever you land on the fretboard. So if I played a note here and somebody said move that up a semitone or up a half step, I would move up here. Now it's important to define this, guys, because you need to understand that this is up because we're going up in pitch, and this is down because we're going down in pitch. We're also going up in number. If you think of this as fret 0, this is fret 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can hear there, I'm saying those numbers, and the numbers are going up, and you can hear the pitch is going up as well. So this is up, and this is down. It's important for you to understand when I say that, and important if you are trying to communicate with a band member or something like that, or another musician. You say, no, move up a fret. Yeah, so that's up. Move up a half step. Same thing. Move up a semitone. Same thing, okay? Move down a half step. Move down a half step. Move down a semitone. Move down 1 fret. So there's 3 ways there to describe that, which is why it can be confusing at the beginning, but hopefully that makes sense that there's 3 ways of understanding it. Now, getting back to this idea of half steps. Well, if we've got half of something, we have to have a whole of something as well. If you had half a cake, it would be safe to assume it came from a whole cake. So if we take this half step here and we measure it, then we can see that we get 1 fret. Now if we take that 1 fret and times it by 2, which is what a half is, then we get 2 frets, and that gives us the next label for the distance between one note and another that we need to know. We get something called the step. So if I go from this 3rd fret here, I have to go up 2 frets to get up a step. So that would be up a step. It would be also in UK, remember we had semitone before, so if you had a semicircle and you had another semicircle, they would both form a circle. So we do the same logic with that word, and we think the same thing with semitone. So semitone and a semitone equals a tone. So it's just navigating your way around the language, because the language can be more confusing than the thing that you're trying to do. It's relatively easy for me to press this note here and then move up to the 5th fret here, 2 frets. Yeah, so I've gone from the 3rd fret, 3 to 5 there. So I've gone, I passed through that using semitones. So I went up a semitone, up another semitone, which gives me a tone or a step. Okay? Half steps and steps, which is the most logical language to use because they actually help you to picture what it is that you're playing, move to other strings as well. And this is going to be the case. It applies across any fret on any string. So if I play this note here, this is at the 10th fret on the thin E string here. If I move that up a half step, I just move up to the 11th fret. It's important that you can move this idea around on any string. I'm going down in half steps here. If I go down a step, it means I have to go down 2 frets. And if we move down a half step again, we get onto the 5th fret. If I move down a half step, I'm on the 4th fret. Let's go down a whole step. I'm going to go down 2 frets. So you can see that a half step is 1 fret and a whole step is 2 frets. It's important to know that because the first really important scale that we need to learn in music is something called the major scale. And that's composed of steps and half steps. And if you want to learn more about that and why it's important, then watch this video here.